Good evening, kids, parents, chess teachers. Welcome back to our chess lessons. In today's lecture, we'll talk about the endgame, Lasker versus Nimzowitsch, happened in 1934. It is a beautiful endgame and one of my favorites. So let's analyze this position. Well, the black king and the white king are not participating at the moment, but you can see that black king is a little bit closer to the center, and it's kind of difficult for white king to to get immediately into the game. The black knight is clearly better centralized on d4 against the knight on g1, so that means we already have a small advantages for black. Now, the most important here is this pawn on h7. This is a pawn on h5, and those pawns are very unpleasant against the knight, and you will see that on the end of the game. Now, that's also an outside pawn. That means if you trade knights, you can win the game. So let's see now the strategy. First step, black is bringing the king into the gap, centralizing the king. Right? That's the first step. Now, the second step, pushing this pawn, because that's the most important pawn, right? h5. Further, you can push that pawn better. a3. This was probably the mistake, because this move after a5, it is creating a backward pawn on b2. So you see now this pawn cannot move, and it is a problem. Right? So it was better not to play that move a3. Stronger move for white was knight h3. So let's see what happened in the game. a5, excellent move, right? The idea is, of course, to push pawn to a4 and not to allow b4 because there's knight c2 check. Now, knight h3, knight c2. Well, in this case, we also can play knight e6. And what I would suggest, you could practice this position with a stockfish and play this move knight e6. That is probably a little bit better than knight e2, and see if you can win this position with the black side. So knight e2, but look at this marvelous idea that Nimzowitsch found. He plays knight e1, he goes knight e2, and then he brings the knight to g6. Well, now knight to g6 doesn't allow white knight to get into the game. Knight g5, king f6, knight e7, and king e7, right? Again, knight g5, and now centralization of the knight. Knight e5, king d6 supports the knight, right? Well, right now, white made a mistake. He plays knight h3. It was very important for white at this moment to play a move like b3. And with this move, simply not to allow pawn to a4, right? So that was very important. Now, after knight h3, a4, and it's clear that this pawn on b2 is a backward pawn, a very bad pawn, and now black is clearly better. But what's interesting here is we just have a 3 pawns against 3 pawns, and still white cannot make a draw here. Knight f4, pawn goes to h4, and then let's move b6, b5, and look at this now. 96 check, and king goes to c5. All right, that's the right way to go with king, because you have to try to break through on the queen side. Pawn takes, king takes, and now check. Right, and this move 96. So what do we have right now? Knight on e6 is clearly controlling the pawn on e4, but also kind of controlling the knight on h3, right? And now we have this wonderful endgame where black is going to capture this pawn, and then we're going to have a h pawn against b pawn, and there you can see the power of the rook 5 pawn against the knight. Look at that. King takes. So this pawn on h4 is better because the knight on h3 is quite restricted, actually trapped. Look at that. Knight is trapped. And that's what the pawn on h4 does, because with any other pawn, this knight could jump, right, to the other side of the board, but here it cannot. and that's why the knight is trapped. There is no move for white right now, because if you push pawn to b7, then knight c5, and if you play a move like this, then knight e8, and the pawn is blocked. Basically, what we get is we get the endgame here. The queen against the pawn, but that endgame is easily winning for black, right? We already know this. Just go from the back with your queen, right? And then um, when the white gets in front of the pawn, you bring your own king, and that's the strategy. You go back from the back with your queen. But that's not what happened in the game. Um, Here, basically, white resigned the game. Okay, so let's summarize everything and see what was the most important. Well, the most important is centralization of the king, centralized knight in the see the knight in the center of the board, excellent, and then this rook file pawn, that's outside pawn, and you know the rules. Basically, the knight endgames are pawn endgames, right? So many of those rules in the knight endgames you can apply in a pawn endgames, right? So outside pawn, see, it's winning the game, right? And then of course this idea was very important of playing a4. This moment is very important, like when we played a4, and not to allow this white pawn to move forward, right? So and then the next idea is here, right? When black simply moved this king c4, then we have this endgame, H pawn against B pawn, and black is winning because the knight is trapped on H3, and you can see the power of the rook file pawn against the knight. Right now, for a homework, I really would highly recommend you practice this position that we talked about. That's here. Um, like for instance, you can try with white side to play this position and don't play a3, play knight h3, and see if the stockfish can win against you. So do that for a homework. And also here in this position, instead of knight e2, play move knight e6 and see if you can win against stockfish this position. You are better. Look, I'll show you with a stockfish. It's minus 1.2. That means black has a chance to win. So practice this for a homework. Hey kids, I hope you enjoyed the lesson for today, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye bye.